everyone, it's Tasha Danvers here, two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist, and you are watching another episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. Now, my next guest is no stranger to taking flight, and I don't mean she's a pilot, except she could be considered a pilot because she does propel her body through the air. Please welcome to the show, Sarka Pancochova. I said I'm going to practice my Czech Republic accent, but obviously it hasn't worked. Welcome to the show, elite snowboarder Sarka. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
How was my Czech accent? Not so good, huh?
I was okay, actually. It's Šárka Pančochová. Pančochová, actually.
Šárka Pancochova.
Yes.
You know what? I went all across the land watching videos, and everyone said it wrong. So I'm glad I get to speak to you personally.
That's good.
Get it from you. So tell us, about your growing up, because it's Europe for a lot of people is they're not familiar with, and it's a different life. Because I know when I came to the United States, I was very naive. I thought, oh, we all speak English, it's going to be fine. But there was so much naivety to what it's like growing up in Europe. So what was it like in the beginning growing up in Europe?
Well, Czech Republic is very different from all the other countries. We're a little bit more Eastern European, so the mentality is definitely different especially from the US one. And when I met my first American friends, I thought everybody was super loud and obnoxious, and I was just I just didn't know what to think of it. But then I kind of got into it, and I have a lot of really, really great friends around here. So I started liking it a lot. But it's just a little bit different. I mean, it's nice because Europe is kind of like a big country with little countries around, so it's not very far to travel to different cultures, different countries. So I would always go to Austria or Switzerland for snowboarding. When I was younger, when I got on my first brands when I was 15, and kind of from then on I was full on in snowboarding.
Nice. Yeah. You have a sibling, right? You have Are they also quite sporty like you?
I have a brother. He's 8 years older, and he loves snowboarding, and he has 2 kids now, so it's really nice. I get to hang out with his kids, and they love me, and we just go and do fun things all the time. So it's quite fun. Yeah,
I enjoy it. Coolest aunt ever.
Yeah, they love it. I just take them rock climbing and snowboarding and all these other activities, and they're super stoked.
I love it. Now, I saw in one of your interviews that you're kind of as a kid, a little bit of a crazy kid. You described yourself as kind of like a daredevil. You'd climb stuff, and so it's not surprising you got into the sport you did. But are you still like that now? I mean, what was it like?
Yeah. So kind of when I grew up in a really, really small village. It was it was maybe 5 families total in my village. So I had 3 friends, and those were the only kids in the village. So I was okay, I had to be friends with these kids, because there was nobody else. I didn't really have any other choice. Right. But we were the closest town was maybe 5 miles away or something like that. So we were kind of surrounded by woods, and just do a lot of activities outdoors, and build little houses, and just do fun things all the time, and try to get in trouble. But I mean, it's just a little. I feel have maybe the Czech mentality is also like that, a little bit more you want to screw up with things a little bit to get somewhere, But I feel I like that little edge, so I kind of enjoy it a lot. Yeah, doing it still now when I can just get away with things, with small stuff, and just see if I can get away with it.
Right. Now, do you remember getting your first snowboard? And had you done snowboarding before you got your very own snowboard, or did you get to practice or use somebody else's, or was the first time you ever got a snowboard the very first time you snowboarded?
So my brother, since he's 8 years older, so he had his snowboard, and I really wanted it. And so my parents got me my first one for Christmas one year. I think when I was like 11 or something. And then we had a little hill right next to the house, and I think I rode there until like 12 o'clock at night, because we get presents the night of 24th. And then I went and snowboarded all night and tried to like get down the hill, basically. And yeah, I mean, I didn't snowboard it very much until it was like here and there, you know, my parents would take me to the mountains, like, I don't know, 3 times a year or 3 times a season, until maybe I was like 15. And then I entered this snowboard camp where my really close friend was running this snowboard camp, and they kind of he helped me out, took me to my first like Swiss Alp adventure. So I was really stoked on that, and since then it kind of just kept rolling.
Grew from there. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, I was looking at some stuff you said, and I was like, you literally cried your way into a snowboarding career, because I read that when your parents, like you said, when your parents got your brother a snowboard, you cried and cried and cried and cried until they got you one as well. So you kind of cried your way into a
basically,
snowboarding.
yes, it was very true. I just bothered them enough that they just eventually gave in.
Right. What was it that you were so passionate about? Because obviously there was something in you that knew you had a future, or knew that this was what you really wanted to do with your life, that, you know, you'd cry. Or was it just that you wanted what your brother had? But it seemed, you know, looking at how things turned out, it seems like something in you knew that this was something that you passionately loved.
Well, when I was younger, I skateboarded a lot. With my friends, and I really liked that, and I was actually quite good at skateboarding. We would just go like after school always like to the skate ramps, and that was our hangout spot. And like when the winter kind of came around, I was like, okay, what do we do now? So then my brother got his first snowboard, and I was like, yes, I want this, you know. And so that kind of like, I've always liked that like fun of being with the friends and being able to just kind of do what I want on the board, and like create, just do it my way, kind of, you know. There was no like structure, there was nothing to it. It was just like have as much fun as possible, and I try to like kind of stick to that even now.
Right. The freedom of it.
Yeah.
So do you remember your first trick
on my skateboard or snowboard?
Either. Let's talk about both. What was your first trick on your snowboard?
I think my snowboard, I think it was like probably like ollie or like a 180, like a frontside 180 or something. And we would just find, like, there was not even snow parks back then, so we would just kind of find little like hits out of the woods, you know, and you just kind of jump like over everything and try to find things to jump over.
Right. So is that an ollie? What's an ollie?
It's basically just like you kind of jump, you know, like it's
right.
Yeah, and then you do like 180s or like frontside 180. So you spin one way 180 degrees, or then you spin the other way 180 degrees.
Right.
Like one of those probably. I was like, yes, I probably got this. Or you grab your board and you're like, yes, this is awesome, you know.
I love it. So was it the same on the skateboard? Like
basically. Right. But it's just like skateboarding is just so much more gnarlier, you know. It just hurts so much more, and like tweaked ankles and just bruises everywhere. And like I like look back what we did on the skateboards. We would put like maybe 15 like plastic bottles laying on the ground, and we would just like go as fast as possible and try to jump over it with my skateboard. But like I would never do that nowadays. Like there's no way. Like I would die probably, you know. It's just like back then you don't even like think about it twice. You're like, let's go.
Right. Because you haven't had all those injuries yet. And you're like,
for sure.
After a few injuries, you're like, maybe I'll jump over one.
Maybe I'll chill. Exactly.
I love it. So when was your first actual competition? Because I mean, of course you're on the snowboard all day after Christmas, and it's all fun. But when does it get to the point where someone says, "You've actually got some talent here. Like, let's see what you can do against some other kids"?
So, like, my first competition was actually near my home with my brother. We went to this mountain that's close to my home, and they were actually running a competition there, which I didn't even know there was a competition. And
Right.
I signed up for it, and the first go, I actually broke my arm right away on
Ow.
that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was not a success, but then I actually the first time I kind of knew that I could do better or have something special was when I went to the snowboard camp when I was maybe 15, and then the guy that was running the snowboard camp, he was also like a kind of a team manager for two brands that I actually ended up riding for. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're good, you should come to the mountains with us." So I started traveling with these guys, and eventually we kind of signed up for these contests. I'm like, yeah, I really want to do some contests and try to see how I can do. And then there's these little bit international contests. So from maybe age 16 or something on, I started doing a little bit more of competitions, and I was like, oh, I'm actually doing good. I'm actually kind of winning everything. And yeah, it was weird because I didn't really had to put that much time in.
Right.
It just came natural from maybe the skateboarding or something, and I was always athletic kid, so I picked it up really quickly. And yeah, just kind of started traveling, meeting new people, and I just started hanging out with all my American friends now, like Jamie Anderson and all these guys, and it
Right.
just was really fun. We just kind of were like, this is awesome, and we all traveled together, to the competitions, and just just had the best time basically.
Right. So from those beginning stages to the more of the elite competitions, was that your mindset initially? Like, I'm going to go for these big goals, because you've been to several Olympics, you've done, X Games, you've done some major, major competitions. At that point, when you started competing more, did you start saying, you know what, I want to go to those big competitions, or did it kind of just unravel like a carpet, your career? What was your perspective?
It kind of unraveled on its own, but I always had that I know I can be the best. I was
Right.
I kind of know if I put this time in and don't restrict myself because I'm from this country, or maybe I don't have this much of opportunity, maybe I haven't been to these mountains as much, but if I can put in the work, I think I can be the best,
Right.
I can
Right.
compete against all these top people. So I
Right.
never really put any limits to myself, and just kind of tried to do as I just kind of went with it, and tried to pick the right decisions. You pick the wrong ones on the way, but you learn from it, and I think it helped me a lot to be able to travel with all the top girls, Jamie and then other people at the time, and I just stayed with them and ended up riding with everybody, and it was kind of put me in this circle of, okay, we're doing this all together and it's fun, and we're doing we're winning, or we're swapping places. I'm first and the person is second, and then we swap, and it just was it was fun. I don't know.
Right. I love it. So so talk about the actual event itself. Like, how does it work? How is it scored? What are the rules? How do you become, what do you need to know to become, the best? What skills do you need to have, and how are you judged? How does the actual competition side of it work?
So there's different competitions. So you have halfpipe, you have slopestyle, which is jumps and little rail features, and then you have a big air. So we have 3 different competitions for freestyle.
Okay.
For the Olympics, you have to qualify in the big air and slopestyle together, and then you separately qualify for halfpipe as well. But you don't have to qualify for halfpipe if you don't want to. You can
Right.
qualify either for big air and slopestyle or just halfpipe. And then, so the score is basically execution, difficulty of the trick, how nice it looks, and if you put down hands, how much you spin. And then so let's say for the big air, which is 1 jump, you have 2 different spins, and they count as a score together.
Gotcha.
Because everybody, nowadays, the riders are so good that they all kind of do the same things. So to differentiate them a little bit, we do 2 tricks, so it's a little bit more difficult for the riders, you know. And then for slopestyle, it's basically best run counts, usually out of 2. And yeah, I mean, it's just, it takes a lot of, I mean, it's kind of a like pretty hardcore sport, honestly. Like we have, you know, it hurts. You eat it a lot. You like fall a lot because you can't really learn anything without falling. Nowadays we have these airbags, which are like kind of, you can ride them in the summertime as well. There's this plastic in-run, this plastic jump, and then you land in this airbag, which kind of eliminates quite a lot of injuries, because you can really practice this whatever trick you're trying to do over and over, and really work on to doing it the best you can before you actually try to do it on snow. So that eliminates quite a lot of injuries. But, you know, sometimes it's hard because you have, you know, the jumps are like 70, 80-foot jumps, and in slopestyle you have 2 or 3 of them, and the weather is not epic, you know, and sometimes it's snowing, sometimes it's windy, so it's like, it's really hard to like adjust. So there's injuries, and, you know, you try to come back from the injury, and then you're like trying to get better. It's like a circle. You always go in circle. You get hurt, then you get to where you were, and then you try to get better, and then you get hurt again. You know, it's kind of just,
I guess in a way your early career, like breaking your arm like pretty young, kind of gave you some insight into what it might be like later on. How have you been able to manage that? Because like you said, it's like this constant cycle. Do you find yourself often like more in rehab than you are in full health?
So there's like a one thing when I was little, I actually like, I would break things all the time, just like because we would do stupid things like climb trees, fall off of it, or like, you know, like I literally, my doctor had a stock that was like this thick of like things that happened to me, you know.
Oh my God.
So but at the end, I think maybe that actually helped me, because I never like thought that I was never like gonna like heal, you know, like when I was younger, I had things happen to me, and then I would heal, and then I would have another thing happen to me, and then I would heal again, you know. So it was like this, like I never like actually gave a big like thought to the actual injury, you know. Because I was like, okay, this is happening, and I'm just gonna heal, and then I'll be fine, and then I'll go again, you know. Like it would never really occurred to me being like, oh, this is never gonna be better, and never gonna be like, you know, healthy again. But it is definitely like, there's like big injuries, like, you know, when you tore your ACL or something, it's kind of just like a long one, you know. It takes like up to a year to kind of just like be where you were, and kind of, so it's like a long one. So you work, but at the end, I think actually like I've learned the most from my injuries. Like as a person, I grew from all those injuries rather than all the winnings, because like then you think about what you've done, and like you think about what you could do better, and like you actually learn a lot about yourself going through all these experiences.
What are some of the things that you learned about you during those tougher times?
I have learned to chill out a little bit more and not always put myself on the line when I don't think it's the right time, you know, like when like listen to myself a little bit more, where like sometimes I would just like push through and like try to do it, and then I would get hurt for no reason. So I kind of just like listen to myself a little bit more, and you learn to like chill out a little bit more and actually think about it a little bit when it's happening, and you decide to like make a different run maybe than you would if you were like, okay, I just want to win, but maybe I don't even need to do as difficult tricks to win, but I can just do easier tricks and still win. Like, you know, sometimes when I was younger, I always wanted to do like the the best I could, and maybe I picked the like wrong time to do it because it was like no speed or like windy and like crappy weather, where you
Right.
don't have to really do that, you know.
Right. Right. Now you have been to many major competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the first big competition you went to. Would it be the Olympics for you? And what was it like now being on such a big stage for the thing that you're so passionate about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was I guess maybe X Games was probably one of my first biggest competitions, I would think.
Yeah, right.
And then like followed by Olympics, yeah, of course. That was
Yeah,
also a big one. Like but it's like, yeah, it just feels it's like a different world, you know? Like I'm from like Czech Republic and now I'm like
right.
standing at the top of the X Games course or like top of the
Wow.
Olympics or something, and you're just like, really? Is this happening right now?
Yeah.
And you know, like you
Wow.
put in the work and you like know that it's gonna happen, but you're like, huh, how is this happening? How am I here with all these people?
Right.
This is really cool. So you like try to take it in and like of course try to do your best and like just do all, yeah, like basically do your best so you can win. And yeah, it just was awesome. I enjoyed it.
I love it. Now, do you
Hmm.
think you were prepared mentally for those moments, or is it one of those things where you got to be there to experience it first? Like, how do you get ready for big competitions now, and is it different from where you were back then?
I think maybe because like we were all like traveling together like as friends, and then we would
Right.
all go to like as competitors but also friends to all these big competitions. I didn't really think twice about it because we were like competing at one event and then we would go to another event and it would be like it could be X Games but it would still be the same people, you know, at the end.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it is for sure like it's all experience. You kind of feel like now I feel so much more chill. Like I've been here, I've done this, I know how to do it. Like, you know, like I know exactly what to do. I don't need to
Right.
like stress about it. It's not my first time at, you know, X Games or Olympics. I can
Yeah.
like concentrate on my best rather than all the other stuff.
Right. Right. Not your first
Hmm.
rodeo, as they say.
Exactly.
Been there, done that. Got the
Yeah,
snowboard.
for sure.
Good. So you are now trying to prepare for some big competitions. Talk about that,
Hmm.
and talk about how basically this whole COVID situation is affecting your ability to train and prepare, and what's that whole world like for you guys right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Breckenridge right now in Colorado, and luckily the mountains are open here. But like Europe, for instance, is really bad. Like Czech Republic is closed, and Austria is closed, and Switzerland is kind of closing, and like they're canceling all the contests and everything. So it's like tricky. But I'm glad I'm here and I get to train and ride because we have that competition coming up in Aspen. It's World Championships, and then it's followed by this World Cup because there's really not that many competitions this year. Um, People or like the countries are trying to pull it off, but it's weird. Like for instance, we were in Switzerland, and one of the Canadian guys got COVID, and then the whole team was out because they were kind of all hanging out. So the rest of the team couldn't compete. So they all paid
Right,
their way to go to Switzerland, and then one of them got COVID, and then they all couldn't compete. So it's just like a big mess, you know, like. And
right,
there's like I don't know how many people. It's like 10 riders or something, and you're just like, it sucks. Like
right,
the whole thing is, it's hard to get points because you don't, yeah, you don't have any competitions, and they're not 100% sure how they're gonna actually do it. All the COVID stuff, like maybe they'll keep the results or the ranking from last year and add to the results of this year because then we had some results. It's still like really
right,
up in the air with everything. So I'm just trying to take it, you know, day by day, right
right.
here, try to train, enjoy some powder on the side, and just kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's like hard to control this situation.
Right. Do you have to change your training a lot? Because I know with track and field, as you're coming up to your competition, you start doing things a lot different. But there's not going to be a competition, you'd be training completely different. Have you had to change the way you train, or are you just kind of keeping things the same even without knowing?
Yeah, I mean, snowboarding, I think, is a little bit different than like endurance or like track and field.
Yeah.
In the way of like, you just need the skill. Like, it's not about endurance or like speed, or it's more just about like, you actually have to be really good at snowboarding. So like any type of snowboarding really helps you. Of course, you can prepare, like, you know, that maybe this slopestyle course, this competition is going to look like this. It's going to have this type of features. So maybe I will concentrate on doing these type of features or these type of tricks a little bit more to prepare. But overall, I'm just trying to ride as much as I can, work on new tricks that I can maybe put in my run. And yeah, so it's not very much different, but of course I'm trying to always learn something new, and so I can improve my runs.
Right. Now, I want to bring up an issue that you're probably like, oh my God, like, are we still talking about that? But it is a part of your life, and it is a part of your experience. You know, one of the things that came up in your career is that you came out as gay. And when that happened, the entire LGBTQ plus community kind of came down to, you know, to want to talk to you and want to learn more and have you a part of the community, obviously. Did you feel a lot of pressure to be sort of like a role model for the LGBTQ plus communities? Because I know at some point it's like, okay, guys, I'm still a snowboarder here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Like, it was weird. Like, the first time it all happened, like, I came out, and then we were at the World Championships in Spain, I think. And like, of course, it was like pretty... They just like to talk about things, you know, like all the media. And there was a lot of, like, for instance, Czech media was there because it's the World Championships. And so everybody wanted to have an interview about it. And then, like, at some point, I was just kind of like doing more interviews about me being gay rather than me being a snowboarder, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm getting over this now. But but I do think it's important, because I think it's still an issue, especially at home, because we don't have equal marriage. And I do feel like it's good for the public to know that, like, gay people are not like something weird, that it's just like, they're just normal people that, you know, I represent Czech Republic at the Olympics, and I'm, you know, like, I'm just a normal person, you know. And I think at the end, even for like the gay people at home, they feel like, okay, this is not bad, you know, it's not bad to be gay or something, you know. So I do try to encourage and try to, like, I try to be a good role model in that.
Right. Because you said at first you were kind of fearful because you didn't know how sponsors might respond. They might drop you. What was the reaction in that respect, business-wise, to your announcement? Was there any pushback, or was people quite open-armed?
Actually, I mean, there's always people that, you know, have something bad to say about it. But I honestly just really try to think what is right and, like, what is the right thing to do. And then I don't really read any of the news or anything. I just try to kind of intuitively decide on, like, okay, I think this is the right way to do, and then I'm gonna do it, and no matter what, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
We have, you know, on the same subject of LGBTQ plus, one of the issues that's major in sports like track and field and MMA and things like that is the issue of transgender competition, particularly originally biological males competing as females. Is that an issue in snowboarding at all? Like, has that come up yet? And do you have any thoughts on, you know, how that could be handled? Because, I mean, there's so many different opinions right now on what to do to make sport inclusive but still fair.
For sure, yeah, I agree. And it's not, I don't know anybody in snowboarding that's transgender, and honestly, I don't know. Like, my opinion about this is, like, I ride with everybody, right? I ride with girls and guys,
Right.
And of course, like mentally, maybe we think that we're not as good as guys, but like I see the boys and they're machines, right? They're just
Right.
so much stronger, so much, they can jump so much higher and spin so much more. Like maybe it's just my thought, but I think it's just what it is.
Right.
And
Right.
in that sense, I think it would not really be fair
Right.
for one person that's transgender and has, let's say, it's a male body and it's a female, because it's
Right.
just so much, like they're just so much, yeah, better than us
Right.
in a
Right.
way. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything against it. Maybe you could try it, like, because we don't have any experience with it. I think I wouldn't,
It's hard to say. Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah.
really a hard topic. I actually not
Yeah.
really quite sure how to answer this.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, and that's
Yeah.
why that's part of the reason why I asked, because it
Yeah.
is such a hard topic, and like you said, for a lot of sports right now,
Yeah.
we can only speculate. And I think there was a point in a sport like mine where it was speculation, but now it's happening. People are like, hold on, we probably should have talked about this before.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good conversation. Now, speaking of the male-female issue, I read somewhere that you said in the beginning, when you first started out, you could probably party all night if you wanted to and still perform well and be in the rankings. But women's snowboarding has come along so much that you wouldn't be able to do that now. What do you think has made the level of competition, other than yourself competing, of course, raise the level of women's sport to where you can't just, willy-nilly your way through and still be successful?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, the airbags happened, which make it a lot safer to train and do like a lot bigger tricks, especially for women, because we may be a little bit scared sometimes more than the guys,
Right.
And so it's kind of that, I think, helped it a lot. And also that they added, right before the Sochi Olympics, they added a big air, which is just one jump to competitions.
Right.
Which is like you only concentrating on doing one trick, right?
Gotcha.
You don't have to concentrate on doing 3 jumps and then plus a bunch of rails. So you can do your most technical trick.
Right.
And eventually at that point, like women's snowboarding turned to be like crazy, because people started doing the hard tricks on the big air jump, but then they also they're like, oh, I can do it on the big air jump, so I can probably do it in the slopestyle too. So it all like got pushed, with like Anna Gasser, for instance, doing doubles, and like all these young kids just being crazy.
Right.
So it's,
mini Šárkas.
Yeah.
Daredevils. So do you have a specialty, a discipline, or do you compete in all of the disciplines of snowboarding, or do you have one particular that you go to most?
I really like slopestyle. It's my favorite one, because you actually just have to be a really good overall snowboarder, like know how to edge and jump and do rails. And then I just like jumping. I like being in the air.
Yeah.
And then I've also done 2 Olympics in a halfpipe as well, which is a completely different discipline. Like the halfpipe kids, they train very differently than we do for the slopestyle. But I think, I'm maybe at this time I'm probably the only snowboarder in the world that does halfpipe, slopestyle, and big air, from guys and girls at the moment. But I mean, it's really difficult to try to do all the disciplines and be good at all of them, because it's just so much work. And the competitions kind of overlay as well.
Right.
So, it's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, anything airtime related, I'm in.
You're there. I'm like, so I wasn't kidding when I said you take flight. So talk about the halfpipe, though. You said that it needs a different kind of training. What is that technique, and why is the training so different?
Well, the fact is that the halfpipe is just... it's always the same, right? It's just a halfpipe.
Yeah.
So you have to have a lot of like dedication and drill and like do it over and over quite a lot.
Right.
And to be good, because you just need the miles on the board in the halfpipe Otherwise, you're
Right.
just not going to be able to go big or do the lot of spins. It's just really difficult,
Right.
technical, and I just get really bored of it, unfortunately, because it's just
Yeah.
repetition. I just really
Right.
like the variety of being able to do everything, and the slopestyle courses are
Yeah.
changing. You know, they're never the same.
Right.
So actually, I mean that's why I never really kind of stuck to halfpipe as much as I did to slopestyle, because it's just too repetitive for me.
Right. Right. Now, being a female in a sport like yours, do you notice a difference in, the way that women are sponsored, or the type of pay they get, or prize money, or income? Is it different from what the males get?
At the moment, I think for the competitions, we get equal pay.
Right.
But I think for the sponsors, I actually don't know, because you don't really know what the guys are getting, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot more than what we get, unfortunately.
Right.
But it is getting better since years now. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a little bit different still.
Do you think it's because that's the male side has been more established for longer, or why do you think it is that there can be that difference between male and female sponsorship and income?
I think it's because well, maybe some of the brands just don't think there's future in selling women stuff, like the snowboard
Right.
brands,
Right.
And
Right.
then, but if they never do it, or if they don't invest in it, then of course
Where's it
it's
going to
never
come
gonna be
from?
there,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of but now I feel like the brand's kind of realizing, they're like, oh, actually we kind of have to do this, because otherwise we're never gonna sell things,
Right.
So they finally are realizing that they're like, okay, women's market isn't stupid. It's we just have to invest in it, and then we get more out of it.
Right. Makes perfect sense. Now, there was a time you said where you felt a little bit burnt out, kind of like you feel about the half pipe most of the time. It's just
Yeah.
boring, where
Yeah.
you weren't enjoying it, and you wanted to do something different, and you did a film project which was called Shark's
Yeah.
Tales. Tell us about Shark Tales.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and why did you do it, and what is it for anyone who hasn't heard about it?
Well, it was basically I was after the Sochi Olympics, and unfortunately, snowboarding is a judge sport. And I should have ended up third, and I didn't.
Right.
And I was really bummed. It sucked. It was really bumming me out, and I was just really over the whole scene and all the competitions, because I was doing it for so long, and it's a lot of work, especially the pre-Olympic year. It's just competition after competition. It's always the same. You don't really get any time for yourself to just ride and do the snowboarding that you like to do. You basically go to the competition, always do the same thing, and then go to another competition, do the same thing, and it's just very repetitive. So I was kind of over it. And I just decided that it was a good time to do a little documentary or a little project, just to do something else, and try to film in the backcountry. I was with my best friend Cheryl Moss, and we just went to different spots, tried to film, and just kind of document how I needed to regain the passion for my sport.
Nice.
Because it was so over. I was just so over the competition, and it was taking away from the enjoyment of me snowboarding.
Right.
And I really didn't like that, because I love snowboarding, and I'm so happy and grateful that I get to do it as a job.
Yeah.
So, and that helped me. I kind of regained all my strength, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to jump into the comps again and start over again.
I love it. So now that you had hit that reset button, do you ever still wonder if somebody's opinion, fairly or unfairly, is going to affect your result rather than your actual skill? I mean, that would drive me crazy. Track and field, whoever passes the line first is first, and that's it. But people like yourself and boxers, it's kind of dependent on someone else. Do you think about that now, or do you just kind of put it out your mind? Like, I can only control what I can control. What's your mindset with that now?
I mean, it still sucks when you know that you should have been on the podium and you're not there, but that's something that you cannot control. And I've learned over the years that I shouldn't even like care. And we were just on the chairlift talking to this younger kid, like he's like a younger snowboarder and he's really, really good, but the judges keep giving him bad score. And me and my coach were like, well, maybe you just need to pray a little bit more, you know, like just kind of put it out there, put it in the universe. And like, you know, maybe the judges will actually, you manifest that they'll actually give you the score, you know, just kind of put it into the universe and see what happens. Because there's like so many good riders, and like it's only 3 people that are going to be on the podium, and there's so many good guys, girls, you know, it's one, like if you really just depend, like I've learned that you just cannot really like control the judges, and like I just always try to do my best and see where it gets me, and then I just go from there. Because I got burned so many times when I was like, God damn it, those judges, you know, and I would be so pissed. And it's just, you at the end you just can't do anything about it anyways. Right.
I saw that you once did, unless I was going crazy, a TED Talk. Was that what? How did that come about? And what did you talk about? You were speaking in your language, so I was like, I have no idea what she's saying, but it looks good. Were you nervous doing that, or?
Yeah, so it was like my first like bigger public speaking, I would say. I think it was like 600 people or something.
Wow.
So it was like, I know, it was like a big spot that I was like, okay, I'm super nervous about it. I was freaking out the week before. I was like, oh my God, how is this going to be? I'm freaking out right now.
Right.
So I was talking about like basically like about fear and like how to keep your motivation, and like how many injuries I had, and like how to come back from that, and like the way, like the mindset basically on that.
Right.
And it was a really cool experience. I've done a few bigger speaking events since, and I really enjoy it. I actually don't have any like stage fear or anything. I just go on. The first like minute is a little bit more, you know, like it's the, like you just kind of have to shake, you have to shake it off, and then you're like, okay, I'm good. This is like, you know, this is my spot.
Right. I love it. So you're more nervous standing at the top of your competition, getting ready to start, or you're more nervous on the stage of a TED Talk?
I think it's probably at the moment would be the TED Talk. Yeah. You're like freaking out before. You're like, okay, it's happening. I went to Auckland in New Zealand, and I was doing a like speaking event there, but I was like, it's my friend, they're doing this rare, it's this Google events. Anyways, I get there and she's like, yeah, here you go, you know, and I was thinking it's going to be like chill, you know, there's going to be like 100 people and whatever, like a small little stage. And then she's like, we're going from dinner home, and this is the night before, and she's like, yeah, good luck, there's going to be 1,500 people tomorrow. And then she just walked away, and I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh
and I was like, oh my God. I was like, but I was glad she did not tell me that there was going to be 1,500 people before, because I would be losing it. Yeah, it was bad.
Do you have the same approach to preparing for a speech that you do for preparing for a competition?
I guess, yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit of like a freestyle, you know. I kind of have like an idea of what I'm gonna be saying, and then I'm gonna try to do it in my own words, you know. I just kind of have like a slight guidance, and that's, I would say, snowboarding, I kind of do it that way too. I have a slight guidance of knowing what I want to do, but you actually never know at the end how it's gonna end up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have anything like me, like sometimes you'll have audiences that are just like on the edge of their seats, and then other times you could do the exact same speech and people are just like, staring at you, and you're like, but then they'll come up
Yeah,
to you and after, and
for
they'll be like,
sure.
oh, that was amazing. You're like, well, I didn't
Yeah,
read it on your face. So
that's funny. Yeah, for sure.
speaking is like a serious game.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for you? Like like
Hmm.
if you walked away from this career, you know,
Hmm.
ready to move on, having done everything you wanted to accomplish, what would have happened for you?
Like, what do you think I'm gonna do after snowboarding? Or say again,
No,
I didn't understand the.
if you once your career is finished, like if you could look
Yeah.
back and say, I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve, what would be on that list?
I am. I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with what I've achieved. I've
Nice.
won. I've been the World Championships placed, and I've been the world like the FIS World Cup Tour winner, and all the other X Games medals and other competitions. So at this point I feel very accomplished. The only one that I'm
Nice.
missing is my Olympic medal,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I'm still trying to prepare for and like get that in my bag, the last one.
Yeah.
But you just never know, what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm so happy I got all these experiences. Like my life is just a constant travel. Basically, I've never really had a home since I was 15. I've been
Wow.
packed in my bag, and I travel, and I have a van here in America. And I basically, when it's, spring, summertime, I get in the van and I travel, go see my friends in
love it.
California and Oregon. So I have a lot of life experience, and I am
Right.
so grateful for all that, because that's because of snowboarding. I would never experience it. And yeah, I don't know. I already feel like even if I
It's
didn't
good.
win anything in my
Right.
career, I would feel accomplished right now because
Yeah,
I have so much life
absolutely.
experience.
I love it. So speaking of retirement, have you thought about what you might like to do once you stop competing? I know I get the feeling you'll never stop snowboarding, like never stop doing tricks. So I
Yeah.
have to say stop officially competing. Have you thought about what you'd like to do after?
I do like speaking a lot, and I do have a lot of life experience, I think, that I could give to
share.
others. And so I wouldn't mind doing some of that. But yeah, it's a hard question. It's just one of those things where you may be coaching, or maybe just take a break and have a breather for a second and see what I actually want to do, with my life afterwards. Because it seems like, snowboarding has been a big part of my life, but maybe there's something else too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. It's really hard to pick something else that's more fun than snowboarding, Like it's impossible.
Right. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of athletes once they retire. There's like nothing lives up to the, high I got from competing and being in my sport. So what advice would you give to another little 11-year-old that gets their first snowboard, another little girl or little boy, about how to navigate this career? Like what could you tell them that would help them, through the ups and downs, both literally and figuratively, of becoming a professional snowboarder such as yourself?
Yeah, so like, for instance, for me, like I've never actually thought about snowboarding as being a career for me. I always just tried to be like, and all of a sudden it just happened, like we were just riding and having fun, and then you signed up for a competition and you're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun,
Right.
And so it's just like I really try to keep like as much fun as possible in what I'm doing and in snowboarding, because it can get a bit repetitive and like a bit boring too, because you have to repeat the tricks and but if you really wanted to be a little snowboarder and go compete, move to the mountains and get an airbag.
There you go. Step one, kiddos. Move to the mountains and get an airbag. Take your parents and guardians with you, by the way. Don't just move.
True that.
I love it. Well, it's been a real joy talking to you. I know we've been wanting to get you on the show for some time, so I really appreciate that you took the time. I know things are busy and you're traveling and moving about. Before I wrap up, I always like to do a little game with my guests called This or That. So I'll just say one thing, I'll say two things, and you'll pick one or the other. All right? So, Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Build a snowman or have a snowball fight?
Probably the snowball fight.
I kind of figured that. On stage doing TED Talks or interviews at home?
Even though it's stressful, I would pick the TED Talks because it's just a little bit out of my element, and I like challenging myself a little bit, and it's just fun.
I love it. Me too. Exhibition snowboarding or competition snowboarding?
You know what? It's hard to say. I think competitions. Yes,
there you go. I was watching you. I was like,
but it's really hard because you can just like when it's exhibition snowboarding, you can just like really like. Actually, I pick exhibitions because you can just bring the best out of yourself and show that to everyone. Because in competitions you only get 2 runs, best one counts. But with the exhibition, you're like, okay, I have few runs and I can show the best I can, and that's what I want.
Crazy town. You can do what you want.
Exactly.
I love it. And last but not least, getting a little Oprah Winfrey on you here. What do you want the world to know?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I say, what do you want the world to know? I want the world to know that everybody deserves to be treated the same, and I think, I don't know, I'm trying to think too much about it right now.
No, I mean that's just what you said right there is perfect. Everybody deserves to be treated the same. So with that message, we thank you so much for taking the time, like I said, and I hope you get to check that box on your final medal count.
Thank you.
And get that Olympic medal in the future. And I hope that everything works out and they're able to have these competitions this year that you've been training for. So all the best. And if anyone would like to follow your career and keep up with you that's listening to our show, how do they find you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Sarka Snow. And I think it's probably the best one. You can shoot me a message if you want anything or advice, and I will sure reply.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you, an honor. Like I said, we wish you all the best, and make sure you stay in touch with us because we'll be watching.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye.
What a champ. She is a superstar. We didn't get into lots of the details of her injuries and things that she's been through, but I think it's very clear from how she was speaking that she's a tough cookie. She gets hit, she gets back up, she gets injured, she does a rehab, she gets back up, and you got to really admire people like that. So we are rooting for her. I really, 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 really hope that she gets the opportunity to check that last medal off that she wants to get and get on that podium. I cannot imagine being in a sport where you are judged and feel that you deserved something and didn't get it, with all the effort and work that it takes to get to where she's gotten to. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Do not forget to like, follow, and subscribe and comment on this episode so that you can let us know what you enjoyed about it. Was there anything that stood out to you? Is there anything that you can take from this and use in your own life? Maybe the tenacity, maybe the getting back up in times of struggle. Okay, so do not forget to go to www.globalsportschannel.com, because it's not just about these interviews, darling. There's many more things for you to check out there. All right. Anyway, that's all from me and my silliness. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.